All right, Lori's up. She says, hi there, SM team. It took me a while to figure out how to find a way to post this question. And yeah, that's probably because that link was down, Lori, and we apologize for that. It's typically always set up correctly, but I don't know what happened this past week. Thanks, Greg and Marco, for the help. I was wondering if any of you know of a tool that can estimate pay-per-click conversion rates for a specific niche. Might be wishful thinking, but we have a potential PPC client with multiple U.S. and international locations that wants to know this. Just not sure of how to supply that info. Thanks in advance. I don't know of any that would do that, and I'm certainly open to hearing the opinions of Marco and Hernan and Chris, but I don't know of any that do that. In my opinion, I don't know that. I mean, there's so many variables there about conversion rates that, you know, depending on your landing page, your offer, your ad, the quality of traffic, there's so many variables there. I don't know that you can get a estimated conversion rate from any sort of software application. I could be wrong. What do you guys, have you guys ever heard of something like that?
No, I mean, there are some standards, like niche specific standards. You know, you have X% conversion rate for, I don't know, for lawyers, for XYZ. But yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of hard without inputting data, Lori. For example, on AdWords, you can estimate how many conversions you can get, but after you have run the campaign long enough, you know, so you have been running the campaign for a month. The same with Facebook. They have just launched a new tool that will allow you to estimate the conversions that you will get based on the budget, the daily budget that you're investing, you know, but that's with data already. So it's kind of hard to say off the bat, because there's so many things that are affecting that. And it's, you know, it's stuff in the dark, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. The variables are, you know, if you have your own data to input into like a calculator, a conversion calculator, which those are, you know, you can find those in Excel spreadsheets and Google Docs and things like that, which are like ROI calculators, return on investment calculators, that kind of stuff. You can find those, but you have to input your own data. So your own figures for like what your click-through rate is, what your cost per acquisition is, what your conversion rate is, and that kind of stuff. And then it can estimate based upon your own data and, you know, historical data from your own account. But as far as just like benchmarking, you know, specific niches with conversion rate, there's just too many variables. I don't know that that's data offered anywhere. If it is, I can imagine it's quite a range of, instead of just like a specific number, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the way that I sell this to a client is I always tell them that you can't get this information. You can't get an estimate on conversion rates. You can get general, as Hernan said, and niche specific rates. But what you could do, and the way that I sell this, is we'll run the campaign 3 to 5 days on a limited budget so that we can gather data. And then from the data, we can go ahead and take the information. And then I have enough experience with AdWords where I can tell the client, this is what you can expect, and we will be increasing it over time. We can increase the conversion rates over time. We tweak the ads, we tweak the landing page, so it will go up as we go along. But there's no way to give you an estimate before we, as Hernan said, before we have data. I need the data, right, so that I can give you the estimates. And the way you do that is you run a limited campaign, 3 to 5 days, and then you'll have all of the data that you need, so that you can go back to the client and say, well, now this is what we can do for you.
That's right, and that's what I was saying. You know, like AdWords ROI calculator, you could just Google that, and you can probably find some here. Would help you. You just Google some and look for that. But again, it's gonna ask you to input some data first, and based upon that data that you input, it will give you some estimations. But it's going to require some of your own data, just like what Marco said. And that's exactly how I would do it too. Is I would, you know, whenever I'm proposing pay-per-click, which, guys, most of you probably already know, I've done SEO most of my career. I just started doing pay-per-click, PPC, search PPC stuff recently, within like the last 6 months. And so I've approached a lot of my SEO clients with it because I think it's necessary for local marketing now to do AdWords. I think it's absolutely necessary. So it's the same thing as I approached my SEO clients who had a bad taste about AdWords, right? and did the same thing. I said, look, you know, let's work with a limited budget. I'll set up the campaign. We'll run, a few days worth of data or a couple weeks worth of data, whatever, throw it, see what kind of results we can get. And that'll give us an estimation as to what our costs are going to be and what type of results, the number of leads we can estimate, coming in based upon the data and all that. And so that's how I've pitched that service as well, was the same way that Marco said. And that works well too. But I don't know about anybody that would just give you some flat out data about a particular niche and conversion rates. I would trust that data anyways without verifying it on my own. That makes sense.
Yeah, if I can add to what you were saying, Bradley, at some point after you've done this enough, you will have some benchmarks on your own. Like you will know that for example, that we have been doing, like, let's put the example of Semantic Mastery, or digital marketing on this case. That we can, or after doing many landing pages, that you can crank out a landing page that will convert at 30% minimum, or at 40% minimum, a webinar page that, depending on the traffic source, but it needs to convert at 30% minimum, So you start having your own benchmarks because after testing for a while on different landing pages, templates, whatever, what you can come up with. I can set up a webinar that can convert at 15% minimum or at 8% minimum. So you start working on those numbers. I usually like going with the worst case scenario, like if I know that the minimum viable conversion rate on the landing page should be, 20% for me to be profitable, or at least to break even. But that's data that you're collecting with time. And the more you dive into a niche, the higher, the more data that you can come up with, and you can say, okay, so I have these templates, I have these traffic sources, so I know that these templates or these traffic sources can convert at X%, So once you have that data, but that's after the fact, there's little that you can do before the fact. So